Okay, welcome everybody. I hope you'll find this informative. This is the first time, so not sure exactly what you want to hear. I'm going to cover quite a few areas, and afterwards we'll have questions and answers, and we can follow up with further classes based on feedback from everybody out there. What is the science of dating? The answer, of course, is there's no science in dating. My best friends, who I thought would for sure get married first, the most suave, easygoing, everything going for them, many of them had to wait for 10 years. But all of us want to try to perfect our game. I would like to talk today and tonight about a couple of basic areas. We're going to go very quickly through many areas, and then we'll have questions open up to the floor. We would like to talk about, first of all, what's the goal in dating? Second of all, the stages of dating, how to move it from stage 1 to stage 2 to stage 3, and how to clinch the deal finally, and that is an extremely important question. What is the goal of dating? Very, very important. What's the goal? I make a good show, you make a good show. If we both do a good job faking each other out, then we get engaged. What's the goal of dating? 3 quick points. One of them is that different than the Western world, where dating is starting a relationship with somebody. And then, after a couple of years, if the relationship is going good, then you decide on marriage. And by that time, usually both bored and sick and tired of each other. The goal, the Torah goal of dating is not to start a relationship. We don't recommend starting a relationship, but the goal is to get to know the person. And this has a very big practical difference, because if the goal is to start a relationship, some dates it's not a relationship. But did you get to know the person? If you got to know the person, it was very, very successful. That's a very, very important thing to think about when you're dating. Another very important point is to realize that dating is a vehicle to get somewhere. It's to get marriage. And many people, I had some friends that were dating for a while, and I asked them, Rosh Yeshiva, why aren't they getting married? He said, right now they're dating. They're dating. When they're ready to get married, they'll get married. A few months later, he said, now they're ready to get married, and they actually got married, both of them, very, very soon. Is this getting me closer to marriage? Am I dating this girl? Am I enjoying myself? And one very good way to crystallize the girl you want to marry, a very, very good way, and this came from Yosef, I think he's out in the crowd tonight. I heard it from him, and he said, when you spend the Shabbos by a mentor, by somebody, a family, and this is the type of family I want to be, then look at this girl and say, is she going to build that house that I want to build? And then all your lists, we make lists, what I want and what I don't want. It could fall away when you visualize a real picture of somebody. This is the type of house I want to. Is she that person that can make that house? So it's very, very goal-oriented, and it gets rid of a lot of the just thinking and overthinking and backthinking. I have a goal. Is this going to get me to my goal? And number 3, and this is a game changer, to realize that there are 2 specific things. There is character and there is personality. You're looking for character and personality. Character, find out about character before the date. That's you do research, do more research, that's before the date. Find out about her character. Personality is what you're checking on the date. And it's very important not to confuse them, because many times people on the date are busy trying to find character. She said this, did she mean that? Did she say this? Oh, what did that mean? And what did that mean? They're trying to find out about her character. Drive yourself crazy. Every word she says, oh, I get nervous every time before I have a test. Oh, is she the nervous type? Is she the nervous type? You're trying to figure out character. This is not the time to figure out character. Many times it will drive you crazy unnecessarily. And the same thing is personality. If before the date you're asking people about personality, that's like asking people about cake. Is it a good cake? Is it a bad cake? Personality is a taste. And that is really the goal of the date. Get to know the personality. Is this a personality that I like? Can I enjoy this personality or not? That is the goal. Where am I going? And again, I'm running through things quickly. We'll get back to it. You can watch the video later on, or you can ask me. Each one of these points really needs a whole entire class. Let's move on. Very, very important thing in dating is to know that there's a progression. There's step 1, which could be 1, 2, 3 dates. Step 2, which could be 3, 4, 5 dates. Step 4, whatever amount, whatever the number is. But dating has to progress from beginning type of dates to the end type of dates. And if you mix them up, and again, the beginning type of dates are more simple, in any social situation, I call it like elevated conversation. And many people are strong in one area, not the other. The lowest level elevated conversation, some people could just talk about the weather and have no problem with that. And some people are only very good at deep, meaningful conversations with people. They don't know how to just shoot the breeze. And every single person has to realize what his weakness is and try his best to develop those talents. I remember I had a friend of mine who was going out for a while, and just the girls kept dropping him, and someone came over and says, "What's going on? This guy's a great guy. Why do they keep dropping him?" And I thought about it for a couple of minutes. I said, he's the type of guy, he's so open. He just opens himself up to everybody, and he's probably on date number 1. He's already on the last step, and he's just all out there, and people get very uncomfortable with that. And I called him over and I said, I was just wondering, I have no idea, but it's possible your personality is like this. And you are on date 1 already, telling her all your problems and everything else. And it might just be uncomfortable for people. He said, you're right. And Baruch Hashem, the next girl he got married to. So date number 1, it's really very important. My father now is unfortunately very, very sick, and he can't talk back to me. I have to make conversation with him. To make a one-way conversation, you need to prepare to talk about the weather, to talk about news, just to make simple conversation. It's a talent, it takes time and it takes energy, and a person really has to work on it and think about it and prepare himself. If he's not good at that, prepare yourself. What are those easy conversations, and how do I keep them going? That is a very, very important point. Again, talk about her family, simple things, you're talking about things. When it's time to progress to this next level, it's very, very important to talk a little bit more about yourself. And many guys have this problem specifically. Talk about myself, there's nothing to talk about. I'm just a boring guy. And it really takes time to think about it and work on it and really draw up a list of things. I went to camp, what happened, interesting things, different people that made a difference in my life, different stories that happened to me. I went here, I have a job, this kind of job was interesting. You really have to be able to, and prepared to talk about these things. Second level, a little higher level conversations. Very, very important trick is not to be talking and talking and talking. You have to know how to stop talking also. A comfortable pause, there's nothing wrong with that. Just a comfortable pause. Enjoy each other's company. Someone just told me, a friend of his said, I went out with 12 girls. The first 11, every time it was quiet, I jumped in with the conversation. I jumped in. And the last time I said, let me just enjoy. I'll wait a couple of seconds. There's no rush. You have to have what to say. There's no rush to have what to say. That's an amazing thing to think about. Enjoy, and then you can move on. Another very, very important tip is whenever you talk about something about yourself, now what about you? I went to this camp this summer. I have this job. Well, tell me about your job. That always could flow a conversation, anything you're talking about, and how about you? How did you feel about the weather last night, the storm? Where were you during the storm? How was it? Again, you're always showing that you care about her, and you do care about her. Don't get too caught up with yourself. And always follow up. And if she says a story, a lot of guys don't have a hard time with this. And I just spoke to one of our Shadchanim, Rochi Cohen. I said, what are the girls' biggest complaints about guys? He said, even though the girls know that really it's equal responsibility to keep the conversation going, the bottom line is the girls feel, this guy can't keep the conversation going, and that bothers them very much. So really you should take it upon yourself to keep the conversation going, and it's very simple. When she says something, to follow it with a few W questions. Who? What? Why? Why did it happen? Why did you go there? When did it happen? Who are you with? The W questions to keep the conversation going and really to show interest, and really, again, your goal is to get to know her. If every time she says something you're quiet, end the conversation, you're not going to be able to get to know her. It's very, very important to follow up every question. And again, if she's talking about something, be totally focused. This is very, very important. So many times we're busy trying to remember our next part of the conversation. As soon as she finished, I just remembered I have to talk about this, I forgot to talk about that. And you're totally zoned out to what she's talking about, and she could feel that. Focus 100% on what she's saying. And then afterwards, have a pause. Think a little bit, it's very interesting what you're saying. While you're talking, I was thinking about something. Give me a second. Oh, I want to tell you something. You were speaking about this. I had a question about that. It's so amazing. And of course, a person has to be able to get to the last stage, to open up a little bit. And us guys have a very hard time opening up. We walk around with invisible barriers around us. And to open up, people want to be able to connect and feel a connection, at least a little connection. I have such a hard time. More than once, I had a guy that came over to me and said, I'm ready to drop this shidduch. Whoa, is everything all right? She's a great girl. Everything is right. So why are you dropping the shidduch? It's just not going anywhere. We've been going out for a while and going out. It's just not going anywhere. And again, every situation needs a different type of tool. But more than once, I've suggested, I said, listen, she's a great girl. You got to get ready to open up. Next date, just any sheet that you have, any thought you have, just shoot it out. Are you worried that she's going to tell the whole world you're a crazy guy? No, she's a great girl. She's not going to tell it to anybody. Listen, go for the gold. Just show her everything you got. Show her everything you got and see what happens. If she likes what she sees, you'll be engaged. And probably what's going to happen is she's also going to open up. And then you'll get that connection that you need to take it to the final step. And if not, okay, so now she really got to see who you are and she's not interested, that's fine. Again, there's already after many, many dates, you're in stage 3 already. You're in the final stage. Go for it, going or blowing, as they say in football. It's what you got to do. And Baruch Hashem, seen tremendous results. The next night, 2 nights, the next date, already ready for l'chaim. And again, and if the other side is, she says, no, this guy's not for me. I mean, he just told me all about himself. But to be able to expose yourself a little bit and say, I have little phobias over here, this and that. First date, no way. It's not important. Again, everybody's different. Every situation is different. But it's just not the place for it. As I'm afraid of heights. I'm afraid of this. Just making yourself into a real person. Some people are so professional at dating. Every question has a perfect answer. I know someone who was on one of the last dates, and he's like, everything you have, you're perfect, okay? Is there anything wrong with you? Just tell me something wrong with you. I have to be able to relate to you as a human being. If everything is perfect, you're not a human being. I just can't relate to you. And that's such an important thing. Many people find it useful also to have these little dating games. But have questions. Once we run out of things to say and to talk about, it has questions. And that's a great, leave it in the glove compartment. Said, you want to try a little dating game, some interesting questions, and ask her to take it out of the glove compartment of the game, take a look at it, read it, back and forth. Some of them have different level questions. And, if you're on a first date, let's do some easy questions, a little further. Some hashkafa questions. That's an amazing thing to help get you into the final stages and to clarify. One of the things that I think is so crucial in dating is having a mentor, having a Rebbe, having a dating coach, having someone you talk to. I remember back in the day when I was in yeshiva, a lot of guys were going out, and I really didn't consider myself a professional at dating or anything. But people would talk to me and ask me their questions, and they're going out. And it was amazing that I would sit down with people and talk to them. And again, I didn't give any of my own ideas, nothing. I helped them clarify what they're going through and what they're seeing. And so many times, I didn't say anything. But the clarity, the person gets their own clarity. You talk to somebody, talk it out to someone you trust. It's unbelievable. I remember I was sitting learning with my chavrusa, and someone comes and says, Rabbi Moses, I have to talk to you, it's very important. Can I talk to you for a couple of minutes? And my chavrusa says, are you getting engaged tomorrow night? And he says, no, why would you think I'm getting engaged tomorrow night? And he says, well, the last couple of guys that went to speak to Rabbi Moses, they got engaged the next night. I was like, really? Could be he was right. He was right. And that guy also got engaged the next night. And again, totally not from any, again, I don't have enough experience, especially at that time in these areas, to tell people what to do and what not to do. But talk it out and clarify their questions and get to the bottom of their question with a mentor. It's priceless. It's absolutely priceless. I don't know how anyone could do it without it. Follow up with your mentor after marriage also. I found one of the most biggest criterias for people to have successful marriages are people that have someone they could talk to. A Rebbe, a mentor, a coach, anybody that they could talk to. If you have someone to talk to, if it's all inside of you, people rip themselves apart. Back and forth. Should I have said? I should not have said. It's so hard to know what you should have said and what you should not have said. What to look for, I just want to touch on a few little points. What to look for in a shidduch. We went in when I was learning in Bar Yankov, one of the great rabbis, Rabbi Yossi Mozes, and we asked him, what should we look for in a shidduch? And something amazing, and I heard Rabbi Kiva Tat said that especially people that are in the tshuva process have a hard time with this and don't get this. So motivated and so idealistic. Rabbi Yossi Mozes said, the first thing is midas. Character, good character. That's the first thing. He said the first thing, again, this is one of the greatest rabbis speaking the first thing is looks. Really? Looks? He said it's a Rambam, it's Maimonides, looks. And many people that are very idealistic miss this. They say, big deal, it's not important. Looks is very important. In Judaism, we look at the whole picture. And that's important for you too. You're going on a date, make sure you smell good, you look good, you're refreshed, you're feeling good, the car is good. These things make a difference. In Judaism, we believe the whole thing, the person has a body, a ruach, an emotional self, and a neshama. And everything, you got to get the whole entire picture. And of course, his son, Reb David Shapiro, came over to us and he said something very important, very profound. He said, looks, make sure looks, he doesn't mean what everyone thinks is looks. Many people, the world isn't this kind of look, and that's what I'm going to have to look for because you'll look. Many people have very specific what they would like. Not everybody's looking for the skinniest girl in the world. Not everybody's looking for blonde. Not everybody. Famous story, one of the books out there, it's printed, about this guy who went to his rabbis and he said, by the way, he said, I'm embarrassed to say this, I happen to like the Asian look. And she said, great, I have a girl. She's adopted, she's Chinese, but she's gorgeous and she's a Bas Yisrael and she's wonderful. And they're married for many, many, many years and it's printed in a book, it's famous. What do you really want? And it's important. Again, it doesn't have to be drop-dead gorgeous, something that you'll never stop thinking about. It's not the most important thing. But it has to be someone you enjoy and appreciate their looks. Very important. Another game changer that many, many people just slips their mind to ask in a shidduch is she normal? Is the person normal? Is she well-balanced? Now, of course, depending on who you are, that word means something else. But that is a very, very important question. Another important question many people skip, can you have fun with this person? Most people need to be able to relax and have a little bit of fun. I was read a certain shidduch from a very prominent family, and I asked somebody, this type of family, like, when I get home, they're all Rosh Yeshivas and everything else, would I be able to take off my, coat, my hat, jacket, and just relax? And the guy said, that's a very good question. I'm not so sure. They're very formal people. It's not for you. If you need someone that has fun, just to enjoy with. It's an amazing, amazing thing to remember to ask that question. That's something, again, about personality, not so much character, that you can see on a date. So keep it, especially on the first dates, earlier dates, keep it light. See if you can have fun. Very, very important. In all areas, Rabbi Stern says this to all of his bachar, make sure she's having a good time. You have a mitzvah right now to make sure she's having a good time. And you know what? Obviously, if she's having a good time, you're going to be having a good time. You'll feel great about it. Another big key. Again, this is not all my stuff. This is from greater people than me. You could come to a lecture and the guy's talking and talking and talking, and you don't really remember everything the person says. You know what you remember? You remember the energy, the vibes, the feelings. Did I feel good listening to this person? Did I feel positive when this guy was talking or not? And you have to be very cognizant of that on a date. To give off that energy, because whatever you say, you don't say. People that are full of positive energy, people just love spending time with them. It's so great. I just feel good. I feel positive. Everything is positive. I just feel great. And people that are negative, just sucking the positive energy out of the air, you just don't want to be with them. And therefore, it's very, very important on a date to think about being a positive person, exuding positivity. And that's an amazing, amazing, important thing that everybody has to be thinking of. Many, many people, when they start out dating, they have a list of 50 things that they need. And I have to realize, no, there's not 50 things you need. You need 2 or 3 things in character, maybe a few things in personality. And again, if you have a big list, you have a lot of people that want to date you, go for it. Try to find as many things on your list. As you get older, as it gets harder, whatever your situation is, not everybody has big lists of people knocking on their door. And then you have to start saying, one second, what's important, what's really important, and what's not really important. And that's very, very, very key. Some people have lists and this and that. What do I really want out of life? And this is a key thing, one more important thing I would like to talk about. In the business world, there's a concept of sitting down with a business coach and trying to write up a bio. What's your LinkedIn bio? What do you do? What's your business? Get it down to one sentence. Just an amazing story that I recently saw. Someone was giving a lecture. He said he sat with somebody for hours and hours. What is your business? What do you do exactly? Till he got it down to 3 lines. And he said he went to an interview a week later, and he speaks to the CEO. And in the interview process in the big companies, it's a process. You go to one, to the next, to the next. He sits down to one of the top guys in the thing, and he says, tell me about yourself. And the guy says 3 lines. I am this, and I do this, and this, and this, and this. And that's what I am. I said, okay, I'm ready to hire you. Let's just find out the rest of the details. But if you know so much about yourself, then I think you'll be able to be great for our company. And that's very important when a person is thinking about marriage. What am I? Who am I? And a great way to think about that is, what do I want my kids to be like? Because many times, till we have that first child, we don't take life as seriously. I remember I'm a mohel, I did a bris once, and someone said, can you speak to my brother Bill? He's having a very hard time in his marriage. And I just look at Bill, and Bill had nothing to do with Judaism. At least he didn't look like it, but he was Jewish. And he tells me he married a Christian girl, and they both made up. They're not having anything to do with Judaism, Christianity, nothing. He said now they have a child 7 years old, and she wants to send the girl to a Christian school, and he wants to send her to a Jewish school, and the marriage is breaking up. I spoke to them a little bit, but actually their marriage did end up breaking up. I was thinking, this guy, he doesn't care about Judaism. It didn't look like he cared about Judaism. I don't think he did anything in his life about Judaism till then. When you have a child, what does your child want to be? What do you want from your child? That really shows who you really are. And when you're looking at a girl, you have to say, is this the girl that I want to bring up my children? And that's such a powerful question. Because that, again, you have lists. I need this. I think I need that. Is this a girl I trust to bring up my children? Because that takes all the immaturity out of us. Again, we're all immature deep down. And it gets to the maturity level of what do I want from my kids? Is she someone that can actually bring up my children? And that is a very, very powerful thing. Some people have been in shidduchim for such a long time, and they say, what's going on? I have such a hard time with this. I think it's very, very important. I'll just give you 2 pieces of chizuk. Number one is I spoke to many of my friends who took a long time. And I said, what happened to that last girl? Like, how did you figure it out that that's the right girl? And most of them told me that last girl, it just went smooth. I don't know why. First date, second date, and it went smooth. So just because every date is complicated doesn't mean it has to be like that. Don't overthink shidduchim. Don't overthink it. I had one of my brothers used to say, he didn't think about it the whole night. Go and treat himself out to eat at night after a date, just to relax. In the morning, I'll think about it. Very, very important thing is after you do think about it, write down a couple of things that you spoke about, because getting back to things that you spoke about is a great way of showing I've been thinking about you. You spoke to me about your other job and how you had a hard time with your boss. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? It means you were thinking about us in between dates, you were thinking about our relationship, you were thinking about me. It helps keep the conversation going. It helps take the conversation to the next level. Don't overthink. It's not helpful. Very, very important is not to think if a date didn't go right. It didn't, or 2 dates or 3 dates. One of my friends who took him a long time to get married, he told a friend of mine, he said he was a guy that's a shadchan, and he said, how's it going? He said, I had 4 first dates so far. He says, as long as you look at 4 first dates is fine. Nothing wrong with that. As long as you keep it moving. One more piece, a person has to realize that he is growing through every date. Realize that. Everybody that I spoke to that's been dating for a while knows this. Again, don't overthink it. Some people say, oh, maybe this is my tie. My tie is too fleshy. Maybe I have to go more conservative. And the next girl drops you and says, no, maybe I'm too conservative. Don't overthink it. Be yourself. Someone asked me recently, no, what do I do? Be yourself. You're a great guy. You're an awesome guy. Just be yourself. Be prepared, but be yourself. Gamliel Rabinovich said something amazing. He said that it says that 40 days before a person is born, a voice goes out in Shemayim, and it says, this person to this person. He says, sometimes when you start dating, that person that's supposed to marry your wife, you're not that person yet. Sometimes it takes months, it takes years, till you're actually that person. And when you become that person, that's when you're ready for the shidduch. I've seen this so many times. So again, don't overthink it, don't overwork it. I think it's just great to listen to a shir about any topic. It gives you time to think. You don't have to do exactly anything that I've said. It gives you time to think a little bit about how to tweak your personality and your system and make it work. Should we go for questions now? Yes. So we'll open up now for some questions. It's a very good question. Girls, you find girls are playing hard to get. Any suggestions on that? The only thing that's important for you is really to talk to your mentor. Many times after a date, you ask the shadchan, what's going on? Why did she say no? Why isn't she answering my call or whatever it is? And they're being nice to you and they're not telling you the fact and the truth. And if you have a mentor and someone you can talk about, is there anything I have to work on? Sometimes there is something you need to work on. Maybe you are an out-of-town personality and you want an in-town personality. It's just most of the in-town type of girls don't want that. So that might be the problem. Find out if there's anything you need to work on. Maybe you're looking at the wrong place. But a girl that's really playing games with you, I don't really see how in the world you would want, why would you want to chase after such a girl? Find out from someone who's objective, is there something I need to do? Is there some other direction, some other path I have to find my shidduchim? But to chase after someone who's playing games with you, I don't see any reason, from my experience, to follow through with that. Okay, so the question again is, how do I know when we're ready for the next step? How do I know when she's ready for the next step? And that's a great, great question. And again, sometimes you're just going to have to go with instinct. One of the great things of having a shadchan in between helping you out is that you can ask the shadchan, you have somebody in private, say, is she ready to go for the next step? Or would she rather keep things a little chilled and a little relaxed? Does she want a chill date? Or does she want a serious date? And again, even if you don't have a shadchan in between, it's something you can ask her. Are you ready? Should we go a little deeper and a little closer? Or do you want to just keep things as is? And that's a very, sometimes the shadchan might tell you, she's not ready, but I think you should just push the envelope a little bit, because some people are just very slow on moving things, and sometimes that's helpful. So every case is different, but having someone in between is a great way. And you can just ask directly, do you want to chill? You want a fun date now? Sometimes you had 2 serious dates, and things are getting very, by the time you get to the next date, it's just going to be too much, and we're not ready for that. And so, how about a fun date right now? It could be a very, very good idea. So these are just some ideas of what to do. And again, sometimes when things are getting too intense, she just has to hear, 1 second, could this guy chill? Could he relax? Is he someone fun that I could be with? And sometimes just, let's have a chill date, let's have a relaxed date. We'll make up beforehand, we're not getting into anything deep. And sometimes you might find that, you made up to do that, and just because you broke down barriers by having a good time and having a relaxed time, say, something? Let's talk a little bit of hashkafa. Let's talk about what type of home you would like to have in the future. Excellent question. The question is a very, very important question. The parents don't approve of the guy. Is that going to affect the relationship? The answer is yes. Sometimes in a major way and sometimes in a minor way, but definitely it will affect. Most people, whether they hold to their parents and they're tight with their parents, or even if they're not tight with their parents and siblings' opinion of you makes a difference. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean not to go forward with the shidduch. Not at all. But it definitely is a factor. And many times she says, I'm not really close with my family, I don't really care what they think about you. Usually, it will end up making a difference. How much? Sometimes you can make a bigger difference. Sometimes we have to realize it is a factor. We are influenced by the people around us. And even if she moved out of the house and she's on her own and everything else, it will make, and sometimes it will make an effect in the opposite way. She's so against her parents. She is so not like her parents that whatever they think, she has to go in the opposite direction. That's also an effect. And that is also an effect. It's an effect. So it is definitely a plus when her parents are positive about you, positive about your type, definitely. And again, some families are closer, some families are not as close. Some people generally view family much closer, it depends many times in what type of community it is. Sfarim, a lot of times, Sfari are a much more close unit. Hasidim many times are a much closer unit. Litvish, American are not so close as units, so it doesn't really play much of that much of a factor. But by everybody, it is a factor and something to consider. Don't drop a shidduch because of it, but it's definitely something to consider. Excellent question. The question is a girl that's not on my modesty level. Again, it's a general question, religious level. And again, everything needs a full class. But she's asking specifically about a girl that's not on my modesty level. But she's hoping to change down the line. Should I go out with her or not? Excellent question. Or should I go further with her or not? Excellent question. There's 3 different factors that I can think of right now that are important to take into consideration. Number 1 is, I don't know how to say this in a nice way, but there are certain people that are just out to be attracting people. They don't have modesty, a sense of modesty. They're in every setting, they need everybody looking at them at all times. That is, again, a character trait that's very, very hard to get rid of. That's not just about halacha, how long the skirt is and how long this is and how long that is. That's a character trait that's a big flaw, and it's very, very, very hard on a marriage. Somebody that's like that. So that is something to think, again, sometimes it could be just little subtle things. But is the person really craving attention at all times? Is she ready to do anything to get attention? That's very important. The question of religiosity, if she's a little bit less than mine, but she's in a growing mode, and I'm also in a growing mode. Let's say I'm a guy, I'm in Baal Tshuva, and I'm working on Shabbos, and I'm working on learning Gemara every day, but I'm still not doing A, B, and C, and she's working on C, D, E, and she's a growing person, and she really values the modesty, she's not ready for it, then that might be something very important to consider. Speak to a Rav about it, but you have to know, is she really looking to grow? And again, a growth-oriented person, it's one of the most important things to look for in any spouse, is someone growth-oriented. Because then, whatever the problems are, someone works on themselves consistently. They learn Torah, they speak to a rabbi, they have a mentor, they always work on themselves. They might get there. But someone just says, yeah, just right now, I'm like this, but I plan on changing. People don't change that quickly. So unless you know the person is a person that is changing and is growing, then there's what to consider. But somebody that just says it, lip service, yeah, just like this, but I'm not shomer, and I plan on being shomer. You have to speak to a rabbi on every situation, but it's something to consider and something to really take very good thought about. Yes? The question is, at what date is it the right time to start talking about engagement? There are no rules. There really are no rules, and some people just 4 dates, and they're positive, and they're both positive. And again, there are no rules. Just because you're ready and she's not ready doesn't mean anything. Just because she's ready, you're not ready, also doesn't mean anything. It is important to find out if this is a type of person that strings people along. I've had a couple of friends who went out 10, 12, 13 dates, and then it's just not going anywhere, and they found out afterwards that she already went out with many people like this, and she just can't say yes. So that's an important thing to find out from a shadchan before. This is a person that's stringing people along and just can't make that conclusion. That's something very important to take into consideration. But when is the right time? Really, the right time is when you're both ready. And there is no right time. I've had many friends that it just crept up on them. I had a friend who was on a date 12 o'clock at night, and he said, I have no idea why, it just popped out. This is exactly the girl for me, and I think she's ready. And He said he has no idea, just popped out of his mouth 12 o'clock at night. Nobody was ready. The parents didn't know. And he just, don't try this at home, by the way. But he said, will you marry me? She said 100%. And they had to wake up their parents to make a l'chaim. So there is no right time. It's not a good idea to spring it on a girl. Speak to the shadchan. Then if she needs time, take the time. If you need the time, take the time. Just make sure you have someone you're speaking it up with. Why am I not ready? Is there a reason for it? Or just, I have a problem making commitments, making decisions. And again, a whole class on decision making. I have so many people come to me. They always have a problem making a decision. A friend of mine told me, I have no idea how my wife said yes to me. I mean, she can't even make a decision of which pair of shoes to wear in the morning. She doesn't know how to make it. I have no idea. Hashem sent her a gift that this, yes, she said yes. So we need that help. We need that siyat d'shmaya. And I think one important thing, we can't have a class without talking about the most important thing in shidduchim is davening. And daven once and daven again and just keep davening. And don't daven this girl, that girl. Because you might be davening, like the Chafetz Chaim said, for the worst thing for you. Daven, Hashem, send me the right shidduch. Send me at the right time. Give me the energy and the emotional wherewithal to wait if it's going to take a long time. Give me the happiness. Let me do the best job. But daven and daven and daven. Because really, like we started off with, some of the greatest daters, it goes, you have to remember that you're looking for a mate, not a date. Some people are great maters, great at mate, great mate for you, but just not a good dater. And some people are great daters, they're fabulous, they just keep the conversation going and have a great time, and you just think after 1 second, I had a great time, but is this the girl I want to spend my life with? Absolutely not. And remember, stay focused on that. When am I ready? I'm ready when I'm ready, thinking that this is a girl I can build the life that I want together with. That I can help her build herself and she could help me build who I want to be. Okay, the question is, I went out with a girl and it fell apart. I went out with a bunch of girls in between and then I started going out with her again, and right now I'm comparing her to every single girl that I went out with. Is that a problem? Is it an issue? So first of all, I know a lot of people that went out when they were 19 with a girl, fell apart, and then again at 25 they went out again, and Baruch Hashem happily married. And that does not mean they made a mistake when they were 19. Not at all. It could be when they were 19 they were not for each other. When they're 25 they're ready for each other. The other part of the question is, I keep comparing her to other people. That's a problem you can have in every date. Being busy comparing to this person, to that person, to the other person, that's a problem you have to deal with in life. If you're busy comparing your wife with everybody else, you got to work on that because it's a problem. And again, you have to stay focused on yourself and focused on her and not be busy comparing, because you're never going to get a little bit of this one and a little bit of that one. There's no such thing. You think the girl is too high for you? That's an important question. Shadchan says she's ready. You feel the girl is too high for you. It's a very, very good question, and it really has to be discussed with a mentor, with a rabbi, because, the Gemara actually says, Nechois darga, unisiv isha, go down a level. I was just listening to a shir from someone, he says, go down 2 levels. He says, because every person thinks of himself 2 levels up, and thinks of everyone else 2 levels down. So you got to go down to get to the right level. You have to go down a level to find the girl your level. But it could be a problematic, a girl that's too high for you, it could be a problem. Usually it's not. Because many times what you think is she's too high for you, maybe she has a very great job and she's a executive and you're a simple guy, you have a job, a blue collar job and she's an executive. It could be a problem. But many times marriages could thrive in such situations. I know personally someone whose wife is, wow, she's a super executive, genius, and he's a simple guy, but a very, 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 very holy person. And that's what they respect. They have that relationship based on that. She respects him to the moon. And that's a great relationship, and they have an unbelievable relationship through that. So it really has to be discussed on a case-by-case situation. Very, very important on how to finish it off. Just while we're on that topic, I've had a few people come over to me and say, I'm going out with her, everything's great. I haven't dated that many times, but I like people, so I like her, but maybe there's another 100 girls out there that I would like. How do I know she is the one? I've had this question a few times, there's so many girls out there, and I like people, and she's good, she's great, everything fits. One exercise that I've done, again, this is a little bit extreme, but it might help. To really, really find someone that fits, I told a friend of mine, I said, think about your 10 closest friends. Think about them, the guys. Okay, now imagine they were a girl and you had to marry them. Your 10 closest friends. Are they a fit for marriage for you? One of them can't stop talking, that's just not for you. One of them is absolutely funny like crazy, but you'll never be able to live with him as a wife. One of them has a medical issue. One of them, is not a nice person. He's your friend because he's your friend. You grew up together and whatever it is. You would never want to marry him. You go through, there aren't that many people that are really a fit. And it's very important to realize that not everybody out there is a fit. And many people have this problem after they get married. They say, there's so many great people out there. There aren't. And you have to have a little bit of emunah and betachin, trust in Hashem that this is the girl for you. But just think about it, not everybody's for you. If a girl fits and she's right, then she's the girl for you. Question is, does it say anywhere in the Gemara that a couple is allowed to get married even without the permission of their parents? And of course, what comes to mind is a girl that if she's underage, then she needs the permission of her parents. But overage, she does not need the permission of her parents. Her parents do not own her. And I guess the most classical example would probably be Rivka, Rebecca. They asked. It's nice to ask. It's smart to ask. It's the best thing to do whatever you can to get the permission from your parents. It's so important, and again, it's so crucial. It's so helpful to have the permission and the consent of the parents. But if they don't agree for the wrong reasons, they have no ownership over their children, and if you are destined and you speak to the right people and you're meant for each other, it's a tremendous tragedy when parents try to mix in and kill a shidduch. And I've seen it happen, and it's such devastating effects. You say, we know the girl better, and it could. Sometimes the parents do know the girl better, and she's making immature decisions. So again, you need an outside rabbi or somebody, a mentor, a dating coach to help you along with that decision. But it does not say anywhere, as far as I know, in the Gemara that you have to listen to your parents when it comes to shidduchim. An excellent question. Your parents, her parents are colleagues in business. Sometimes it can happen they're next door neighbors or something like that. They're very tied up together. And is it a good idea for a shidduch, or is it a problem for a shidduch? Again, if you're assuming your shidduch is going to run into problems, it's going to make things much more messy. But many times, if your parents are in, business partners, let's say was the example given, with somebody else, you probably know that family very, very well. And if that's a family that the character, the midot, are beautiful, and you know it through and through, that could be a great shidduch. Excellent shidduch. A family that you know is better than a family you don't know. Important, though, is not to be when you get married, not to be too intertwined. A lot of times it's not healthy to be in the business with family. Many times, again, every case is different. Many times that's not healthy. Living too close to your parents, many, many rabbis who deal with, unfortunately, with divorce and complications say, don't live too close to your parents, to her parents. Living on top of each other, seeing everything that's going on in a couple's marriage is very not recommended. So, just because the families know each other well, now, just because the families, we know each other and we both have a lot of money, that's not a good reason to do a shidduch, and that might make problems. But if we know the family well through business, and again, through business, many times you really get to learn the people's character, what kind of character these people have. And if you see in business, they have great character. When they're losing money, when they have to give money, when they have to give in to somebody else, that they have that character, that might be a great shidduch. But again, once you're married, it's usually not recommended to be too involved in family, too covered in family, because they're looking and they're seeing and they're judging. And when every time you have a little spat, they remember it and they think these guys are having problems and they're trying to get involved. So usually the rule of thumb is not to live too close to your parents. Again, within driving distance maybe, within walking distance, but not too close. It's not good for them to be breathing down your back, especially at the beginning of marriage. Wow, these are great questions tonight. One after another. Thank you very much for sending in these questions, amazing questions. The question was, what happens if you like a girl, you really like her and you're happy with her and everything is going great, but you're thinking something about the girl is not socially acceptable among your peers, among your friends maybe, among your family, maybe Ashkenaz, Sfard, maybe the looks that she has, maybe her job. And how do you deal with that? That's a very, very good question. And number one is you really have to know yourself. If you're a person, and you really have to be truthful to yourself about it, if you're a person that you live for your friends and what everyone's saying about you, you very well might not be ready to get married to this girl, at least in this setting. You know, if you're moving to a different setting, you won't be being judged by your friends and family, maybe. But if you can't get past that, that might be a problem because you're always judging, what are my friends thinking? And you're that kind of person and you don't see yourself ever getting out of that, that could be a big problem. However, on the other hand, many people, you know, I love her and I really think she's great, she's exactly what I need. My friends are shallow, you know, they're still my friends, but I think they're very shallow and they're only looking for this kind of look and this kind of dress or this kind of family. And, you know, it might hurt me once or twice, they might give me comments once or twice, but I'm above that and I'll work on being above that. And definitely no reason to turn down a shidduch because of that, again, but you have to really speak to someone, again, a rabbi, a mentor, a rebbitzin, someone who can help you out with that, making that decision. But it's something you really have to work on, that, you know, people aren't what they look like. You know, a friend of mine, I just heard a relative of mine talking to another relative of mine, says, oh, I saw you going out with a girl. Wow, awesome looks, unbelievable. So, no, you going ahead with it? He's like, you know, how long can I look at her for already? You know, I might enjoy looking at her, but I can't marry her. Like, that's someone I want to be with. And many times those rich, you know, that kind of girl that's all over the place and, you know, that looks and that family and whatever it is, it's a 30-second decision. In 30 seconds, it's, oh, you did a shidduch with that family. Oh, that girl, whoa. That happiness lasts for about, you know, a couple of seconds. Maybe you can string it along for 6 months, how happy you are that you married into this. Again, you're talking about externals, that your friends don't accept her externals. For most people, if you could get by it, and you need help, many of us need help. You know, we are influenced by our society, by our friends. But work through it. As long as you know you can work through it. You have to speak to someone who knows you well. Can I work through this? I think you can work through this. And many, many times people find greater happiness. Someone comes from a big, you know, wealthy family or a prominent family. Oh, this guy's the most, you know, handsome looking guy and he's dashing guy and everyone's looking at him and he's all about a show. And he really is, you know, I want to go home, no show. I want to go home to a wife who's just I'm comfortable with. I want to have a wife who builds a home, you know, people my type. It's just everything's about a show. I need someone just I could live with, I could relax with, I could just be myself. And sometimes that's exactly what you need. That's the exact recipe for what you need. Thank you very, very much, everyone, for listening. Anybody that wants more questions, more specific topics, please reach out to the Rebbitzins. And thank the Rebbitzins for hosting us tonight. Really fantastic questions. I hope we were helpful. And again, future classes really depends on what you want to hear. So please reach out to us and let us know what topics you want to hear about so we can keep helping you. And again, Hashem should help everybody get the right shidduch, get it quickly. And if it's going to take a few extra days, Hashem help us be able to wait and be happy, becoming the person we want to become. As Hashem, we should all be zeichel to our shidduch as soon as possible and lead that life and build that life that we all know we can do. Thank you very much for listening.